Hello, Roger Tandri here. This presentation is intended for those who have already watched the previous video on how to do level 2 of TROM yet may have some questions and/or reservations about proceeding to that exercise. If you have not yet watched the instructional video yet, I urge you to do so now. There is also a demonstrational video in our TROM 101 series that I recommend you watch as well on levels 1 through 3 that can be viewed at absolute beginner level. Before I begin, I want to remind you, I am not Dennis Stevens. I only say this because TROM is not my subject, it is his. I am not here to try and improve upon or alter his technology, only to explain it. That said, whenever there is something that Dennis does not cover, I revert to my Scientology training that complements my thorough study of TROM, and the over 1,000 hours of TROM therapy I have performed on myself during the over 4+ years I have been involved with the subject. Therefore, please differentiate between when I say, this is what Dennis says to do, and when I say this is what I would do, and as I can only hope those two would match perfectly on something he never covered, I cannot guarantee such. Dennis is no longer alive to answer questions. But I am. Now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's get started. A viewer recently wrote in to tell me that he's getting profound reactions to doing level 1 which go away when he continues the exercises. They surfaced on his first, and they surfaced again on his second session, but were not as intense. Now though this may sound odd for me to say, this is good news indeed. What is occurring here are past moments of pain, unconsciousness and illness surfacing as a result of doing the exercise. The mere fact that continuing the exercises makes them go away, and that they were less intense on the second run means that these past upsets, injuries, illnesses and whatnot are going to have less and less of an effect on him as he progresses not only in session but in life as well. What turns it on will turn it off. Always remember that. Even if it gets so intense you have to go off and rest for a while, be sure to continue at the earliest possible moment so you are not stuck with these discomforts, which can also be called re-stimulation. You more experienced TROMers and Scientologists know exactly what I am talking about here. Now back to this fellow. Though Dennis does not specifically say one should wait until the reactions are less intense, I advised him not to go on to level 2 yet. That's what I would do, knowing what I know now. I can only imagine what it would be like for this man to endure the rigors of level 2 and on top of it deal with such profound reactions from doing RI. Now for the good news. If you are getting these sorts of reactions, you can be 100% certain that RI benefits you, and when the reactions session after session become less intense, you can go on to level 2 confident that you can do the RI exercise and it will get you the results you need to repair your importances lost from doing level 2 of TROM. To this gentleman I say, well done for sticking with it so far, and I hope you continue to make progress. RI is deathly important to level 2. It must be run at the beginning of session, at the end of session, and between command sets to full results, so you can replace the mental mass lost by those exercises with the self-generated. If you are having an unconfrontably difficult time during a level 2 exercise, you can also stop and do RI before continuing. You can even take a break and leave what you are doing until tomorrow's session just as long as you end running RI to full result, and beginning the next session the next day with RI then continuing where you left off. And on that point, I would also advise you keep some session notes which will make this transition from session to session smoother. There are other reasons for taking notes which I will not go into now. Just keep in mind you need not write down every last detail, but at least say, for instance, what object from what scene was handled, any reactions, and anything you realize about your case while performing the exercise. Summarize as best you can lest you spend more time writing than doing the actual exercise. Now for those of you who have tried all 3 creative RI command sets and also perceptual RI and nothing has happened, and it all seems a bit boring and pointless, please watch my video on this, as you are one of the 5% that will need some outside help. If this does not apply to you, then skip it. Now to some questions. A viewer writes in to say, I would love for you to give me some examples for level 2. Like when you said bring an object from the past. What does that mean? An object you lost or cared for? Like a car, which got into an accident. My answer went something like this. The first 2 RI commands are: A. Select a non-significant past scene. Masochists can select a significant one. B. Select an object from this scene. So first off, I would recommend the non-significant scene for your first run-through. Then select any object you want from that scene. You are not necessarily looking for trauma here. Actually, just plain don't. I wouldn't. Not until one has done level 2 for a while. One of the first objects I did on this level was an electronic game, one of those handhelds that were popular in the 80s. Something from a moment in time that was pretty neutral, not emotionally charged at all, and something I really liked and had fond memories of. Oh, wow. This was loaded with importance. I thought I was going to pass out at one point. But when I pushed through it, I was more alert than at session beginning. I could not tell you exactly how long it was, as it was not the only object I did that session, but it seemed like forever. Learn from my mistake of not taking notes, if only for the purpose of knowing how long you need to schedule your sessions for. Thanks for writing in. I can make better videos because of people such as yourself. I also perused the TROM forum to see if there were any questions about TROM I could answer in this presentation, and I found a rather curious one here in the level 2 section of that forum. 1. What is time? 2. How can I feel time? 3. How can I check that time is broken while time breaking? Should time broken scene look like Frozen, for example? Even though this sounds like more of a level 3 question, and has a level 3 answer to it, it will still give us some insight into level 2. As far as what time is, it is a series of universes, one after another, each universe being complete unto itself. A good analogy would be a film or a video. Pause the video sometime when you are watching television and you'll see that you have a scene, a universe so to speak, right in that split second of the movie or show. Then step it forward to the next frame. That is its own universe as well. We don't have just one universe that keeps changing. We have uncountable universes, advancing one frame at a time like in a movie or show, giving the illusion of movement and change, which is what we associate with time. Dennis talks about this in his original book, but with a different analogy. You can also listen to the lecture The Supermarket Paradox, which is on this channel. To answer the second question, you feel time the way you are feeling it now. It's what you've always been feeling, so nothing special to say there. Lastly, when you time break, you aren't breaking time itself. You are just breaking the illusion of it, because when you do the level 2 exercise, you are going to be viewing a past object at the same time as an object in the present to compare them. Then on level 3 you will be experiencing past scenes simultaneously with the present. Now when I do level 2, I do just take the object from the past while comparing it to a present time object, and I guess you could say it is frozen, but only because the thought of time breaking an object and have the thing be moving all about would be rather silly, and the thought actually never even occurred to me to allow it to move until just now. Every object and person I time broke on level 2 was perfectly still, and I got through the level just fine. Now on level 3, I did move through scenes as they were being played out, like my mother scolding me as a child or some such thing, but sometimes I would hit the pause button on it, so to speak, so I could really get a good look at a person or a moment, but I never considered that I was freezing time itself when I did that. Alright. Time for the step-by-step. There's really not much to it. I can take something from the past, like a scene where I got a toy gun for my birthday, and place it next to, say, a candle in my office. I note that the toy gun is black, and the candle is red. The candle looks to be heavier, the toy gun has a different shape. I compare it to something else, like an empty soda can. I note the difference in the color, the size, the shape, and so on. These are the differences I find. I am not giving you a list of what you should do. These are examples. Just don't make the mistake of saying something like, well, that one is in the past and this one is in the now, because if you do, you are missing the point of the exercise. You are viewing both of these objects in the here and now, and that's all I have to say about it. So I don't get any sort of reaction comparing differences. I switch to similarities. I compare my toy gun I got for my birthday to my stereo headphones. They are both black. They both have metal in them. I find my leg shaking a bit, so I find a few more similarities, then maybe move on to another similar object and note some more, and the shaking in my leg goes away. I switch over to differences and I get a bit tired, but continue until that goes away too. I switch to similarities and nothing happens. Back to differences and nothing happens. That is 2 in a row where nothing happens, so I finish with that object and do RI to its full result before selecting another object. I am going to put the commands for this level in the video description so you can copy and paste them and print them from your computer. Keep them to hand while running level 2. And lastly, feel free to write me on how this all goes. This has been a presentation of DIY Salvation.